This is the face of a narcissist. Not only did she take her husband's life, but shortly after she wrote a children's book about it. This is Kouri Richins. She wrote a children's book about death and grief after her husband passed away. They had 3 kids together, and Kouri, she found it difficult and heartbreaking to see her boys struggling to cope with their father's death. She had such a kind heart and just wanted to help others, so she wrote a book to support children and families going through similar experiences. When it was published, parents loved it and gave it great reviews. It was selling out quickly on Amazon. Finally, a book about a subject that children struggle with. As you can imagine, the passing of a loved one is one of the hardest things to explain to a child, and Kouri would go on to be interviewed by the news to talk about her book called Are You With Me? She still seemed very sad. At the time, it had only been a year, and she was still grieving and showing how much she loved and missed her husband. However, shockingly, on May 8th, 2023, she was arrested and charged with her husband's murder, and the entire community was in disbelief. This is the case of the real Poison Ivy. Our story takes place in Camas Valley, Utah. Camas is a hidden gem that captivates visitors with its natural beauty and small-town charm. With a population of around 2,000 residents, this close-knit community creates a warm and welcoming atmosphere that makes you feel right at home. Camas exudes a sense of tranquility as it's embraced by the majestic Wasatch Mountains. The surrounding scenery provides a stunning backdrop for outdoor enthusiasts and nature lovers. From world-class ski resorts to hiking trails, adventure awaits at every turn. Whether you seek an outdoor adventure, a tranquil escape, or a close-knit community, Camas, Utah welcomes you with open arms. But as welcoming as it can be, this is where our horrifying story takes place. Eric was born on May 13th, 1982, and had a loving upbringing with both parents and 2 younger sisters. Their entire family was well-liked in their small town, and after graduating from the University of Utah, he married his first wife. Unfortunately, their relationship took a rocky turn, which led to a messy divorce. However, Eric didn't let this define him, and soon after he embarked on a new journey by establishing his own company, C&E Stone Masonry, alongside his friend, Cody. Kouri was born on April 1st, 1990. Now, information about Kouri's early life is a little scarce, but I did manage to find out that she had 2 sisters and a brother. She was known for being incredibly intelligent and pursued higher education. She successfully had earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees. Eric and Kouri first met at Home Depot, where Kouri worked as a cashier, and Eric, being a contractor, was a regular customer. He couldn't help but take interest in Kouri. He found her incredibly beautiful and intelligent, and even though Eric felt a little bit nervous, one of Kouri's co-workers encouraged him to ask her out. Summoning the courage within him, he took a leap of faith and asked her out to dinner. And he was shockingly surprised when Kouri said yes. Now this would set the stage for a promising connection between them. Eric and Kouri's relationship was seen as a fairy tale by everyone around them. Eventually, Eric proposed to Kouri, and she happily said yes. As their wedding approached, Eric's mom was concerned about the potential for a divorce based on Eric's previous marriage. She insisted on a prenuptial agreement to safeguard both their interests. They both eventually agreed and signed the prenup. In essence, the prenup ensured that in the event of a divorce, Eric's possessions would remain his, and Kouri's belongings would remain hers. No money or assets would be exchanged between them unless one of them passed away while still married to each other. Additionally, Eric had a life insurance policy where Kouri and his business partner, Cody, were named beneficiaries for his share of the business. Eric and Kouri would then tie the knot and went on to have 3 wonderful boys together. Cody and Eric had a thriving company, but Kouri needed something she could call her own.
She took a chance and started her own real estate company, flipping houses and selling luxury properties. However, some red flags started to emerge. First, Kouri began accumulating significant credit card debt without her husband's knowledge. And worst of all, this debt was in Eric's name. And one of the couples who purchased the house from her sued Kouri for misrepresenting the condition of the property. They discovered numerous issues after the purchase, which Kouri had failed to disclose. Eric went on to notice small withdrawals from his account, assuming Kouri needed money for her business, but hadn't informed him yet. However, as the withdrawals continued, he decided to add everything up and realized it amounted to a staggering $100,000. To make matters worse, he caught Kouri attempting to borrow $250,000 by forging his initials on documents. This was far from the sweet, kind-hearted, selfless woman he had met all those years ago. She was financially draining him without his knowledge, and these financial conflicts took a toll on their relationship, leading to frequent arguments about money, and it became evident that their financial situation was causing strain and trust issues within their marriage. In 2020, Eric and Kouri realized they needed a romantic getaway to reconnect. They decided to travel to Greece as they were feeling overwhelmed by the constant arguments and the demands of the business. During the trip, on one night, Eric called his sister and expressed that he was just feeling sick and suspected that Kouri was attempting to poison him. His sister frankly just didn't believe what she was hearing, and Eric would eventually brush it off, realizing he might have just overreacted. However, even after returning from Greece, Eric couldn't shake off the lingering doubt, and before the year ended, he secretly created a new trust, changing the beneficiary from Kouri to his sister Katie without informing Kouri. This decision eased his worries, and for the next 2 years, their relationship flourished without any issues. Kouri didn't attempt to steal any money from Eric, and life started to regain a sense of normalcy. Things took a turn when they disagreed on a potential investment property. There was a massive mansion on the market for $2 million, and Kouri was determined to buy it and renovate it and sell it for twice the price. However, Eric strongly opposed at the idea, deeming it too risky, and Kouri insisted on her ability to be able to make a fortune from the sale, while Eric remained adamant about the potential pitfall. Then one day, Cody, Eric's business partner, received a notification from the insurance company. It turned out Kouri had accessed the account and removed Cody as a beneficiary, replacing him with herself. As soon as Cody found out, he immediately informed Eric, prompting them to contact the insurance company without delay. They successfully were able to remove Kouri from the policy. Eric, now fueled by anger and a sense of betrayal, decided to remove Kouri entirely, making Cody the full beneficiary. Eric had now become completely convinced that Kouri had ill intentions towards him. Naturally, he contemplated getting a divorce, but just didn't know how to proceed. After discovering Kouri's interest in the life insurance, he felt trapped. Eric eventually confided in his sisters, sharing all the details of the situation. Eventually, Eric came up with a plan. He decided to designate his sister Katie as his power of attorney and include her as a beneficiary in the insurance policy, ensuring that Kouri would have no control over his finances. Between the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, Kouri embarked on a dangerous path. She was looking for a potent pain medication, so she turned to a friend named CL who could acquire it for her. To obtain the substance, Kouri lied and claimed that one of her clients was suffering from severe back pain. Initially, she was able to obtain hydrocodone and then 2 weeks later requested fentanyl. On Valentine's Day of that previous year, Kouri prepared a special meal for Eric, who soon fell violently ill. He was struggling to breathe and breaking out in hives, and in a panic, he contacted Cody. He expressed his belief that Kouri was responsible. He managed to find his son's EpiPen and took some Benadryl, and thankfully survived the ordeal. Unfazed by the failed attempt, Kouri contacted her friend once more, seeking fentanyl. Meanwhile, Eric remained fearful of his life and in a state of panic. To buy time and potentially deter Kouri, he made an offer on the mansion, allowing him to plan an escape and a divorce strategy. Kouri, unaware of Eric's intentions, was elated, believing she would soon acquire her dream mansion. However, behind the scenes, Eric had confided in his family, disclosing his decision to eventually back out of the deal. He intended to inform Kouri and withdraw from the purchase. A few days later, Eric was discovered lifeless in his bedroom. According to Kouri, she and Eric were celebrating their mansion purchase, and she made him a Moscow Mule cocktail. As they entered the bedroom together, Kouri suddenly heard what she believed to be their son having a nightmare. She asked Eric if he heard it, but he didn't. She offered to check on their son while he enjoyed his drink. Kouri went to their son's bedroom to help him sleep and ended up passing out. When Kouri woke up and returned to their bedroom, she discovered Eric unresponsive. She immediately called 911, informing them that she was performing CPR in an attempt to save his life. And sadly, when the ambulance arrived, they pronounced him dead.
Kouri's family says Eric liked to let loose and believe his death was an accident.
Eric loved to party. He loved to have a good time. The simplest answer is often the correct one. It was most likely an accidental overdose.
I believe Eric may have gotten pain pills and didn't realize that they had fentanyl in them.
And at the hospital, further investigation revealed a substantial amount of fentanyl in Eric's system, far exceeding the lethal dosage amount by 5 times. Now this is where it gets a little weird. The following day, Kouri inexplainably chose to host a party at her home. It was meant to mark the closing of the mansion deal, and in attendance were her in-laws, including Katie, Eric's sister. And unfortunately, tensions escalated, leading to a heated argument. It was then that Katie revealed to Kouri that Eric had removed her from the life insurance policy and designated Katie as the power of attorney. This revelation caught Kouri completely off guard, igniting a blaze of anger within her. And this led to Kouri physically assaulting Katie. Kouri decided to file a claim against her now deceased husband, Eric, and as well as his sister, Katie. She argued that Eric had wrongfully transferred her share of his assets without her knowledge, and this went against their prenuptial agreement. It's important to note that their prenup stipulated that in the event of a divorce, they would not be entitled to each other's assets. However, if one of them were to pass away, the surviving spouse would inherit everything if they were still together. In addition to suing Eric's estate, Kouri also sought financial compensation from Katie, specifically demanding reimbursement for legal fees, and this amounted to hundreds of thousands of dollars. In response, Katie retaliated by filing a countersuit, demanding an investigation into the suspicious circumstances surrounding Eric's untimely death. And this is where it gets weirder. Now, during the investigation of Eric's death, Kouri made a significant decision. She chose to write a children's book about the grieving process. And in March 2023, Kouri appeared on the local news to promote her book. She went on to say that her children and her late husband served as the inspiration behind the book. And during the interview, Kouri appeared to be sad. People perceived her as thoughtful and resilient for taking care of the boys in her husband's absence. Many people admired her strength and viewed her as a devoted mother.
Parent, a sibling, or a friend talking about loss with kids can be a tricky subject.
Joining us now is author of Are You With Me?, Kouri Richins, to share her 3 C's to helping kids cope with grief.
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock.
For one moment, I would like to know what was going on through Kouri's head when she decided to write this book. Was this a ploy for her to just appear more innocent, or was she just trying to convince herself that what she did wasn't wrong? Now, during the investigation, the police managed to recover deleted messages between Kouri and her friend CL. These messages had discussed the poisonous substance that she had obtained. Also, Kouri's account of what had happened didn't align itself with the evidence. For example, she claimed that her phone was charging while she was asleep with her son. However, her phone showed activity during the time that she was supposedly asleep. Kouri had also told emergency services that she performed CPR, yet when the ambulance arrived, it appeared that CPR hadn't been administered. And based on this, on May 8th, 2023, Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with the murder of her husband, Eric Richins. Kouri now faces a non-capital first-degree murder charge, which carries a sentence of 25 years to life in prison if she's convicted. And it's also worth mentioning that Eric had a suspicion that Kouri might have been involved in an affair. Although the details behind his suspicions are unclear, Kouri does have a public Pinterest account with various boards. Notably, one of the boards was titled Weddings, and it was last updated 23 weeks before her first court date. And despite being married for 9 years, this Pinterest board had 304 pins. And this only raises questions about whether she was just simply obsessed with weddings or contemplating a career change as a wedding planner. And it's not even over, because in September of 2023, during a search of her jail cell, authorities came across a letter that had instructions to her brother. The letter essentially went on to tell her brother to provide false testimony. The prosecution in their motion claimed that the letter contained directions for Kouri's brother to repeat a fabricated story, suggesting that her husband had traveled to Mexico to purchase pain medication and fentanyl. And it's worth noting that Kouri's lawyer tried to twist the narrative by saying that this was only part of a fictional book that she was writing in jail. And that's where this really ends, as Kouri's trial is still taking place as we speak. And I do plan to keep you guys updated both on my YouTube shorts and my Instagram, which you could find in the links below. I'm going to end this here by telling you how heartbreaking this entire thing really is. It's heartbreaking to see what money can do to people and how it can change them. And it's sad that 3 boys lost both their parents at the same time. And despite Eric finally seeing all the warning signs, his efforts to protect himself were too little too late. And I think this goes without saying, but my thoughts and prayers go out to Eric's family. And I hope that by the end of the trial, justice is truly served. And again, if you guys have made it to this point in the video, I would appreciate it if you guys hit me with a like, a subscribe, and the bell notification, as it tells me that you guys are actually enjoying the content that I make. But in the meantime, stay safe, and I will see you when the lights go out.